When you're looking into the visas for France and you first hear about the talent visa, creator entrepreneur, where you create a business, it feels like it's the holy grail. It's everything that you've been looking for. Because everything else either requires you to say, I'm not going to work, I'm going to be completely inactive, I'm going to be a tourist, which means you've got to bankroll yourself for 12 months, burn through a lot of money, and you can't legally work, according to some immigration lawyers, might I add. And then the other option is you basically go all in on day one with a 1-year visa where you try and get something working as an entrepreneur or and get a job contract. And all of these options just give you 1 year. And then the talent visa came in, which was first introduced, I saw it with tech jobs, where you could get up to 4 years in the country. And it felt like that just gave you a window of opportunity to move without having this ticking time bomb that meant if in tick tock 12 months you didn't meet all the requirements and you'd be kicked out of the country. And if you have kids like me, the prospect of us moving, which was our option before, moving on an inactive visa or an active visa, and then in 12 months time being told, having the choice taken away from us about whether we could stay and having to come back, just felt so out of our control. So when the talent visa creator entrepreneur was mentioned, where you could create a business, that felt like it was a solution. That's what we've applied for, and I'm gonna tell you that we got accepted, and I'm gonna walk you through how we did it, but that it's not an easy tick box as most people think it is, and as we thought it was from one conversation with an immigration lawyer that just made it sound like, yeah, just apply for that and you'll get 4 years and it's no problem. So I'm going to share everything with you now, and hopefully that will help you to make your decision and get prepped. Hey, if you haven't met me yet, I'm Sue Parker, and we're moving our family of 5 to France this summer. We applied for a talent visa creator entrepreneur. 2 reasons. Number one, if we went on an inactive visa, we wouldn't legally be able to work. Now, if you read across the internet and listen to different people, there's so many different views on this. But the inactive visa is basically for tourists or retired people who have a pension income. And the thing with that is, from a tax point of view in France, after you've been there for 6 months, you're a tax resident. So if you'll start working, then it gets really messy. I'm not going to give you any advice. I was told on the one hand that if we didn't work for French clients that it was fine, and I was told on the other hand, you cannot work on this visa. You're in breach of it and you may be asked to leave the country and blacklisted. We couldn't take any of those risks. I got a family with 3 kids. I can't move them abroad. Then when they get settled and want to stay, tell them we've been extradited because we didn't meet the rules. So that was really important for me. The second option was then we went for a 12-month visa, and that meant we had to meet certain criteria within those 12 months. And what happens if we didn't? That was my worry. What happens if we didn't meet the minimum income in those 12 months? I just felt like we needed more of a runner, getting going, getting started, getting settled than 12 months. And that's where the creator talent visa, creator entrepreneur visa comes into it, where you create an enterprise, a business in France. And we were having a look at this visa way back earlier this year, probably around April time. And I remember getting on calls with different immigration lawyers, and one was like, you can just start any business. You just invest 30,000, you can take it out whenever you want. It's no big deal. You actually could just buy a property and do that. So we were totally confused, like thinking this is really easy. Then we had a call with another immigration lawyer who basically told us, no gîtes, no property. They are fed up of Brits going over there and creating hotels or B&Bs and not really making a genuine business out of it. It's just trying to get in the door. They want to see a proper, viable business, and now you have a new process. I have another tip for you at the end that came up in our TLS appointment. But first, I want to go through timeline, evidence, what needs to be in the business plan to get it approved so that you can get through the talent visa, what they're looking for basically, what I've learned about post process, like when you get to France and you set up your business. I'm going to have to do updates on that because we haven't got there yet. We haven't done that bit yet. This is the big scary bit, is them making it work. And also I'm going to tell you what happened in the TLS appointment. Okay, first off, how long does it actually take to apply for the passport talent? And we started our process, the visa application form, on the 27th of April. And back then, all I'd done is I'd filled in the form on the visa website, And then I got my list of required documents. And from here, the real work really started. I think if I had a full-time job or had a full client quota at the time, I actually couldn't have prepared it all. So on your general visa, you've got to get things like police certificates or criminal check done. You've got to get up-to-date bank statements. You've got to make sure your passport's all up to date and got the right time frame on it. I think it's over 6 months or something has to be valid on it. And it has to be issued less than 10 years ago, which most people's passports are. So there's all those sorts of things that you're kind of gathering and waiting on. Police certificates, by the way, took in the UK about 8 weeks, which is just ridiculous. So they're like the first thing to apply for, and they cost about £70. Probably don't quote me on that, because as time goes on, I'm sure all of these prices will increase. So getting your talent visa, the first big process in starting your business is getting your business plan approved by an organization they call DREETS. So in this timeline, this is how it actually worked for us. From the 27th of April, after we got this checklist and I started applying for everything, I started writing the business plan. Writing a business plan properly takes like a ridiculous amount of time. I think I clocked up about 35 hours of doing this. So I can understand why people pay other people to do business plans for them, because that is a lot. It probably took me about 2 weeks in and around everything else that I was doing, but every night I was there and I'd be doing cash flow forecasts and other things. I'm going to tell you what I included in a minute. But first, this timeline. 27th of April, we applied and got the application. By the 8th of May, we submitted our business plan to this DREETS website. But I thought, when I was sat there at 10 p.m. at night thinking, finally, the business plan is ready, I thought I'll just upload it. But no, it does not that easy. You get to the form and you realize you then have to write in French the responses to all these questions, which are basically things in your business plan, like, have you done market research? What's the target market? What's the thing you're going to be selling? What's your product and service? But you all have to translate it into French. So it probably took me another 2 hours, well, no, probably an hour on that form, trying to get my answers in correctly. And I took the time to do that and upload the business plan to it. So that was on the 8th of May. I remember refreshing my email every day. It said it might take 14 days, but when you get that avis, that approval, that thing, that is like, it's like worth popping champagne for that, because to get that far, to me, it was just a massive hurdle. Without that avis, there was no progressing this visa. So we submitted the business plan on the 8th of May, and we got the reply on the 26th of May saying that it had been accepted and approved. Now, but basically what that meant is from the 26th of May, I had got that avis, which meant once we got all the other paperwork together, we could book our TLS appointment, which we did about 2 weeks later. So that is massive. And look at that timeline. Like, that is impressive, I think, to go from the 27th of April to having an appointment, a TLS appointment with all our paperwork on the 26th of June. And I just didn't think that was possible. But there was so much work that goes into this, I cannot tell you. Now, I don't know about you, but when I got this document, I remember feeling so overwhelmed with the list of things that I numbered them 1 to 16, and then went through and tried to decipher what each of them even was. It was just really difficult. I mean, the main thing for the business area, the talent passport, is the purpose of travel or stay. So I'm going to run through just a few things that they ask you to produce as part of these pieces of evidence. So the first one is anything that says you've either got a master's degree or equivalent of at least 5 years experience in the area that you're going to do your business. So in our case, we used some qualifications, but for the most part, it was about Dave's experience. So you need evidence that. And I just thought, how do I do that? So we ended up getting client references. We ended up getting copies of invoices that go back years. We ended up getting copies of tax returns that went back years, and also any supporting qualifications, diplomas, all that kind of stuff that Dave had got. It then asks for your police certificate, criminal record, and then it asks for the opinion of the Ministry of the Economy on real and serious nature of your business creation project. And that's where there's a web link and you need to submit your business plan, which I'm going to run through what I covered in a minute. But first of all, it then says you need proof of company registration if documents already obtained. We hadn't obtained them, so we didn't include them. And then it says the completed retailer, craft person or manufacturer form. It's a surfer form. I'll put the detail of what that is underneath because it took me a while to find it, and then filling it in. Just allow yourself a good 2 hours to actually fill it in. There's so much duplicated information in there. It's almost like somebody took an old form and a new form and they just put the two together instead of stripping out the stuff that was duplicated. It's such a messy form. Anyway, that goes in there. And then it says, if you are starting a business, so I was like, this is the section we really need to pay attention to. You start off with a written presentation of your project, so your business plan. And your business plan must also include multiple annual years finances, so forecast budgets. So that goes in there as a big hint. Then it says, if you want to create a foreign legal person, which is basically the legal entity of a limited company, which you have to do the equivalent of in France. So it's either a Sal or an Earl or something like that. You create the articles of association. Now, chat here is your friend. But chat will need to be questioned a few times as to whether it's actually got it right. So you can go to government websites in France and find examples of Earl draft articles of association. And this is a draft at this stage. It doesn't have to be legally binding because I explained mine was draft, and we're going to seek legal advice before we set up the business to make sure that it's correct. But what I found, the first draft articles of association that chat didn't include all of the stuff that it was supposed to. So I had to go back to it. I actually ended up using Claude in the end. But you will get there. You will find an example. You will upload it. You will tell it about your business. You'll say, ask me questions, and you'll fill in all the questions and it will come up with a draft for you. Remember to just get it legally checked before you use it to set up your business, because it's just a draft at this point. Lease management is the next thing you need. So if you're not got your own property, you need to have a lease, and then it needs to be agreed, that it's for that business. Proof of a letter of guarantee from a French-based credit institution. We weren't taking out a loan for this business. We were investing our own capital. So that was not applicable. It does also say, or proof of a credit balance from an account in the applicant's name in a French-based credit institution. Okay, for some people this will be really complicated. Luckily, we already had a French bank account. We've had one for many years. So we just put the money in there and then printed the bank statement and said, there you go. That's our money. That's our credit balance for investment. You need to have it in a French-based credit organization. So, I don't know, get online and find a French bank account or one of these, I don't know if Revolut or something like that might be suitable, but get the money in there before you go to the appointment. You need that evidence. They will ask for it. My understanding is that when the embassy gets these visa applications and things aren't ticked that they're included in the app, that's when they reject, or that's when they go back and ask for it anyway. So I was just like, I want as many ticks as possible on this. So whatever is here that I can get, I will get. Then it says starting a business in your own name. It's copy of the sublease or the business premises. We just used evidence of our address because ours is going to be home-based, and that seemed to have sufficed. And then starting a company on French law, they've got things if you've got a subsidiary. We're not doing a subsidiary. You're probably not doing one either. So there's two things on a subsidiary. Starting a company under French law, copy of commercial lease agreement. Again, not applicable because we were running it from home. And then under the funds section, it asks you for proof of investment of your 30,000. So that's either your loan or your capital that you're investing. So again, I was like, well, the bank statement is that. And the second one is proof of sufficient financial resources or monthly income equivalent to the minimum wage to support yourself. I did two things here. Number one, I said, well, in the business plan, you can see that he's going to earn at least minimum wage in the projected cash flow forecasts and revenue. That's there. And then in the second one, I said, right, we've also got some savings, which clearly show we've got the money to live for so long. So that's the next thing that we did. I mean, this nearly killed me. I just kept going through it. What have I missed? What does this mean? What am I supposed to do? So I was just basically going on the rule of thumb is if I was to let somebody in, I'd want to know that they're serious, they're not messing around, they're going to work, and they've got enough money to support themselves and not going to keep asking for money. And once I got that in my head, I think that is just the kind of picture I wanted to build. It's all got to be authentic and legitimate and honest. This is a visa application. This is something serious. If you lie on this, that's going to come and bite you on the bum. So I was like, that is not an option. We're doing this properly. Now, the business plan. The sections that I included. So the first of all, always at the start of the business plan, put a professional, personal sort of summary. It's like a CV. Because that is, you are the business when you're setting up as an entrepreneur, and they needed to see that you've got experience or qualifications. It was kind of like a tick box on the front of that business plan. The second thing they look for is massive market research. Like, this is serious now. They don't want you to just go, yeah, I'll set it up and see if it works. They want market research. So I did a lot of analysis to how many people are in the area that already do what Dave does. And then how big is the target market? I did a SWOT analysis. That wasn't asked for. It's just, that's the kind of thing you put in a business plan. So my marketing plan, which shows everything, all the services that are going to be offered, the marketing and sales plan, but also, the pricing, how we're going to determine the promotion that we're going to do, what place and location is going to cover, what area. You end up repeating yourself a lot, by the way, in this sort of stuff. Then I did the investment monies. So where we're going to get the monies from, and I evidenced that. So that included the 30,000 euros that you have to invest, and you have to invest it as share capital. It can't be a director's loan. They want to see that you're serious and you're putting the money where your mouth is and getting stuck in. And that was that. And then we showed some bank statements that had those on there. And then came an explanation of how we were going to spend that 30,000. Not all of it, but like some of it. So things like buying a vehicle, doing marketing and advertising, initial cash flow, paying suppliers initially, stuff like that. They want to see that you're serious and you've actually worked this out. So that's another section. And then you do the sales forecast. So the 5-year sales forecast. So a bunch of spreadsheets that show we expect to make this much in month 1, this much in month 2, this much in month 3. And then after the sales forecast is then we did 3 years worth of cash flow forecasts. It says multi-year. So we did 5 years revenue forecast, which is how much money we're going to make, income and sales. And then we did 3 years cash flow forecast to show, right, we've got that 30,000 in, we spend it on advertising, marketing, a vehicle, some tools, and then that rolls over and we have some income coming in, we have some money coming out the pot, we have suppliers to pay. And you just show month on month what that balance is looking like and how much money's coming in. And obviously you want to try and meet the minimum statutory pay, which I think is about 22,000 at the moment in France. And that's the end. That's the end of the business plan. I know. Why did it take 2 weeks? I remember thinking that when I produced it, I was like, okay, it feels like a lot. And then I looked at it and went, should it really have taken this long? So that's the other thing. I want to just go back to the expectations. When we were doing this, we started off thinking, well, we can just invest it in anything. I could invest it in a property and rent it out. I could do anything. And very quickly, I learned through speaking to people that this is very much about you establishing a business in France. Early on in this stage, we had to make a decision whether we were going to use Dave as the passport talent or me. And my business is online. I do work with clients setting up their sales funnels and things. It's an online business. And in France, they really wanted to see that we were investing in the local area and building a business in the region that's going to be economically beneficial to the region. So they love you to employ people. They absolutely would love you to buy things, work with suppliers, work with other trades and things like that, and basically enhance the local region. My business just wasn't going to display that. This that Dave's doing, investing this 30,000 into the area, into a workshop, into vehicles, into tools, into working with other trades, into building and maintaining other homes in France. This business is very much a regional, local, in France business that you couldn't operate in any other way. So I felt that it was just obvious that this was going to be the type of business that they really wanted for these passport talents. I'd love to know if you've applied for a passport talent visa, what sort of business you did, share some ideas. I would love to know underneath. If you're going to apply for one, I would love to know what sort of business you want to set up. Let's support each other, because this is about creating something new in France or in Europe or abroad. And doing this takes a massive amount of courage, Appointment. Okay, so I wasn't expecting this in the TLS appointment, and I almost had a complete mental breakdown at it. We just finished Dave's application, which was the most complicated because there was all this evidence that we'd had to produce. And then we were working on mine. I thought, mine and the kids, it's going to be a breeze. In 5 minutes, we'll be out of here. And I think probably I spoke too soon because they got to this point of the supporting evidence and they asked for the beneficiary's employment contract form. Well, we didn't have one because obviously he was starting a business. And at that, the appointment just halted. At first, one of the guys from the back came over and he said I'd selected the wrong option on the form. I had to select that I was an inactive visa asking for a 12-month visa. I challenged him. I was like, no, there is a family option to come as a dependent on a talent visa. That's what we clicked on. There was a talent family option. And I described to him exactly what the drop-down box said. He said, I know what the form looks like. Let me go and check. So at first he went off and I'm thinking, please don't tell me that we have applied for the wrong visa. I'm sat there, I'm getting sweaty palms, I've got this big file, I'm thinking, Dave's went so swimmingly, don't tell me that we only get 12 months and he gets 4 years. How can I do this with the kids? How can we justify this? How can we make this work? And I'm going through in my mind like the worst case scenarios of Dave being able to stay for 4 years, us having to come back, how on earth I'm going to keep reapplying for visas every year and bring them out of school. And I'm having this dread. And then I'm thinking to myself, no, you filled in the right form. You know you filled in the right form. So he comes back to us, he says, you have filled the right drop down, but you need an employment contract. And that just started the whole conversation of, is nobody on my side here? We're applying for a talent creator entreprise. That means we are creating a business. We don't have a job contract. Please will you go and sit down? And the guy went and rung the embassy to chat to somebody. This was probably a really long 45 minutes wait where I'm sat there and I can see all these people going to the counter and I was thinking we had it so organized. I have this big file, we have all this evidence, I'm so organized. How is this now an issue? I'm thinking, what is going to happen? And my husband just turned to me and he went, this is really quite scary. It's just hit me that this is quite serious. And I was thinking all the time, like, this has been serious for me for weeks and if not months. And now it's all come to a head in this one appointment that we could just get rejected at this counter. And not only have we paid for the appointments, we paid for all of these documents and everything that's in this file and all the photocopying, the many, many, many reams of photocopying. 45 minutes later, the guy stands up from his desk and gives us a big thumbs up. Yes. We went back to the desk and I suggested maybe we put the AVI in. So the decision from Dreets that it was a real and serious project, the business. So that's what we put in. We put that into every single one of our files. There is something else we missed with the kids, which is just a little thing, is I didn't realize we had to have copies of our passports in with the kids' birth certificates for their applications, but we just added them in at the time. It's no big deal. I did so much photocopying and I didn't actually need many copies of certain things, but I needed more copies of passports, which is just really odd, isn't it? So we got the thumbs up and the rest of the files got submitted. But for a wee minute there, I actually thought this was all just going to be a big, we thought it was the solution. And I thought maybe I had counted my blessings just a little bit too soon. Anyway, I'm pleased to give you the result. So the last thing I want to share with you is that this envelope will contain the response. It will either contain your rejection letter or basically a visa stamp inside your passport. And I am pleased to say that we got approved on this. So now the real work starts because now we have to go to France, register with the prefecture, and we have to prove that we're going to make the money and that we're real and serious and doing this. And the advice that I'm reading, I'm going to give you some more on this, but little hints and tips are things like collect every client email, collect every single invoice, make sure you're just gathering evidence. Apparently, what I hadn't understood, and this is just something that is so unbelievably frustrating, is that it can be up to 4 years, this visa. It's not 4 years, it can be up to 4 years. And it's up to the discretion of the prefecture that issues our residency to decide how long we get. So I'm currently building a file ready to take to the prefecture so that we can try and justify that they need to give Dave a 4-year visa and us the supporting talent visa for 4 years to have a real go at this. And if they give us 12 months and tell us we've got to be reviewed, then it's going to make that 12 years that pressure year. That is exactly why we didn't want to do that other visa in the first place. So it feels like it's the holy grail, but at first sign right now, I don't really know if it is. There's a few surprising things I want to share with you. I don't know what I was expecting. I think I was expecting to get a visa stamp in my passport that said valid for 4 years, but it doesn't work that way. So what you get in your passport is you get a stamp saying the visa is valid for 3 months, and that gives you time to go to the prefecture, register your business and everything else, and then they give you the residency permit, which can be valid for up to 4 years. So we now have this date between the 1st of August and October to be able to get our residency, and that can be, well, let's just hope it's as long as possible. We're hoping for 4 years. We're hoping for 4 years. I'll keep you posted on that.